Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas visiting with our friend Betty Smith from Enrichment. Good morning.
Good morning, Susie.
So 5 years?
Yes. Can you believe that?
I can't.
5 years.
So tell us a little bit about the history of Enrichment.
Well, Enrichment, this is something that I've been thinking about for a while, that there's a lot of young people out there that love music. Some of them have music in them. They're not even sure they have it there, but they need to be given an opportunity. And a lot of the parents cannot afford instruments, and they can't afford lessons. So I brought together 3 friends of mine, Bev Bevington, her daughter Raylena Dalheimer, and Samson Toe.
Oh,
from
yes.
Malone. Yes,
Okay.
yes. And I called them together, and I said, this is really on my heart. Samson said, wow, I think that's great. Everybody was on the same page. Mm-hmm. So we met, 6-7 months, and then we formed Enrichment. Samson is the one that really said, what about just Enrichment? Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, Enrichment. So when I went home that night, I was praying about it, and then I said, okay, Enrichment, but let's make it capital letters and hyphenated. E-N, enjoying, R-I-C-H, the richness.
Yes.
And then M-E-N-T of music, education, nurturing, and training.
Oh, there's really a plan behind that word. Yes.
Most definitely.
Yes.
And so October, 5 years ago, we started in my husband's church. Mm-hmm. It's a very small church on 11th and McKinley. 3 months, we outgrew the church. We had like 42 kids.
Wow.
And then I'm like, where do we go? Because we didn't pay any rent at my husband's church, right? And we didn't have a budget. We didn't have any money. But I must say, Maria Byington, Arcadia Grill, she raised money for me. Yes, she is. Yep. She raised money for me to buy our first instruments.
Wow.
And then my husband's church bought a couple of violins as well. So someone said, there's a church down on 15th and Shorb. And I'm like, really? I've been in this neighborhood a long time. I didn't know the churches were, but a long story short is I did go. Huge church. So I went, and I couldn't find out how to get in. I finally found a door open in the parking lot. And so I'm like, hello, anybody there? Mm-hmm. So this lady comes downstairs. She says, good afternoon. She said, how did you get in here? I said, the door is open. She said, that door is never open.
Oh, you're kidding.
I said, you know what? Then God opened it.
Yes.
And she looked at me. She said, you know what? He did, because last night I prayed that someone would come here that could use this facility.
Oh, Betty.
True story.
I love stories like that.
True story. She took me before her board like a week or so later. I mean, they loved the program. They said, why, we're kind of a diminishing congregation. We want someone that's going to give back to the community, and we think what you're doing is what we need in this church.
And you are located where now?
Well, that was 15th and Shore, right?
Okay, yes.
So we were there for 2.5 years,
Wow.
and then because the membership was shrinking, they had to sell the church.
Oh, I know what one you're talking about then.
Yeah,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
because I think Heartbeats to the City
Yes.
bought it, and they have it. But I met with Rob Hankins, Arts and
great.
Stark.
Yes.
And he said, Betty, this church is pretty big. I don't know. Anyway, it was too big for us. So Rob said, well, I have a little church. And I said, you do? He said, yeah, Arts and Stark Education Center on 10th. Well, I was familiar with it because I used to be on the symphony board, and we had our meetings there.
Yes.
And he says, you're welcome to use this. I know it's small, but, so we've been there now going on our 2nd year.
Free of charge?
Well, we pay a little bit of rent.
Okay.
It's nothing what, they should be probably charging,
Yes.
but because he likes what we're doing.
Yes.
And very supportive. Oh, it's really a great partnership.
It really is. Now, does Enrichment participate in First Friday activities and some of the things that are going on in that arts district?
Sometimes we set up a booth to advertise our program, and the kids, might have a drum or something out there and playing a drum. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to really do some more things in First Friday, in this year with our kids. But they're very Arts and Stark really helps us. Like we had our summer camp last year. And Rob Hankins sent an artist over, and he worked with our kids. They read a book, and then from the book they drew pictures. So then they picked out a lot of the pictures, and they blew them up like a 10 by 10, and mounted them and put them in our garden and around the Arts and Stark building.
Oh, wow.
And the kids were so excited. Oh, that's my picture. Oh, this is mine, blah, 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 blah. But I also found out last year that a number of our kids can't read. And that's why Rob said, let me bring someone in. We'll get a book, and we'll, kids' pictures, tell a story. And let the kids, let's work with them on their reading and everything. And that was really a great thing.
Well, what you're talking about, when you're talking about giving them these art experiences and this experience with music,
Yes.
that we're finding that that helps the intellectual development at the same time. The cognitive
definitely.
development
Yes.
goes along with it. So
It
are you
does.
finding that they're learning to read by the time they're done learning to read music?
Most definitely, because they have to know how to read, how to count. There's the math, when they're learning how many beats in the measure and all like that. And it is really helping them academically in school.
Wow. That's
It really is. And because they love the program, my thing is always you have to do well in school. And of course we find out too that some of the kids just books is not their thing.
Everyone learns differently.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
the music, you give them a violin or you give them a trumpet or something, and it's, wow, this is the thing that is helping bring them out. And some of our kids are depressed. Can you imagine young kids being depressed? But they are.
That's true.
And some of the home lives could be a lot better. There's some dysfunction going on. But they love coming to enrichment. It's their safe haven.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get there on Saturdays, no matter what the weather.
I should know this, but where are we with schools? Is music being taught in the school? Are there music programs right now? Because I know
there
it goes
are, but
on and off.
Yeah, and it is. Because, music and physical education are usually two things that go. And
First
the budgets,
things to go.
Yeah, the budgets won't. But I do know that the superintendent, Allison, Canton City Schools, they just bought all new instruments.
Awesome.
For Canton City Schools. And we have a lot of their kids in our program. So that was really a big plus.
Well, I love what his whole philosophy is, that have students play to their strengths, find out what you are really good at, and then
Exactly.
go for that.
Most
so
definitely.
I'm wondering if there's a great collaboration between you and the Kansas City
Oh,
schools.
yes. We have wonderful collaboration. We also now have Zachary Taylor, who is the McKinley High School band director.
Love his name.
Yeah. He is now in charge of our drum line.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we have the partnership with Kansas City Schools as well as the Blue Coats Drum and Bugle Corps.
Oh, wow.
So, God has really put this thing together for us. I mean, Blue Coats #1 in the world,
Right.
and Mr. Swaldo and David Glasgow from Blue Coats. Just wonderful. It's like, we want to help you. What can we do to help? So we have a Blue Coats clinic once a month, and they help us with uniforms, drums. Anytime we need drums, we can take the van that the Temkin Foundation purchased for us and hook it up to the trailer and haul the drums around if we need them. So it just works out.
Oh.
It's a win-win for everybody.
That's fantastic. And what a coup. Good for you to be able to, everyone wants the Swaldo family to be in their corner and helping. So
Yes.
awesome that you are the one that had what he was most interested in. To
But
be
let
able
me
to...
tell you just a little bit about how I met him. I believe it was Pat Philman. She just kind of dropped his name. She said, he might be able to help you. And so I didn't know him. And so I called Maria, who's just my dear friend. I
Knows
said,
everyone, yes.
I said, I don't know how to reach him, blah, blah, blah. So she gave me contact information. I wrote him a letter,
Wow.
and he called me.
Wow.
And the following week, we met. And he was like, well, I know a little about you. Do you know who I am? And I was like, I really don't.
Do you eat at Gervasi's?
No, I didn't even know
Wow.
that Gervasi,
Yeah.
this was his thing. And I'm sitting here like, God, you have me sitting across from this awesome man.
That's
Only
pretty
God
good.
could do that,
That
right?
is that is favor, Betty.
You know what? I'm like, and he told me about his life and his history and how he got Canton and da-da-da-da. And he said he really related to my letter when I told him I was working with these underserved kids. And he said, because when I took up the Blue Coats, he said it was at Babe Stern.
Yep.
He said, I drove the bus and I heard all these stories these kids would talk about home and, dysfunction and everything. And he says, we need to be doing this as the Blue Coats.
Yeah.
So he said, what you're doing is what we need to be tapping into to help you.
Love that. Love that that's the kind of person that has come to this area
Oh,
now.
yes.
And that how everyone
He's
is working
wonderful.
together. This is the place to be now,
Most
is it
definitely. Most definitely. So Mr. Swaldo is just wonderful. And then he connected me with David Glasgow, who's the executive director of the Blue Coats. He's a wonderful young man. And last year our kids got to go to the training camp for the Blue Coats.
not? Wow.
We loaded them up on the van and took them there to show them the hard work that goes into becoming a number one drumline, the discipline that goes into it. And see, a lot of our young men come in not really knowing what they want to do, but everybody loves drums.
Exactly.
You know, they love the drums.
Yes.
And it's good for aggression.
It takes a lot out.
Most definitely.
Right,
I says, when you feel like you just can't make it or something's going on, beat these drums.
Go beat a drum.
There you go.
Love it. Good advice. How many students, Betty, would you say have gone through the program at this point?
Let's see. We tap into, every year, we tap into 100 kids or more. And the good thing is some of them will carry over, but we get new kids all the time, too. Especially in our summer camp, our fine arts camp, we get a variety of kids. Last year, we had 36 schools represented.
Wow.
In our camp. And they come from all over the county. I even took a few in from Akron because these mothers, they said, we'll carpool it. We don't have a program like this in Akron. We can't afford the lessons. We can't afford the instruments. And so 9 came in last summer from Akron.
Where does your funding come from? Because you're able to provide so much for so many.
You know, it is the favor of God. I write to foundations, and, I might get, as little as $500. And Mr. Hoover, Larry Hoover is just wonderful. I mean, he is such a wonderful support to our program. And the dollars that I get from him helps me to pay our instructors for the summer, because we do 3 days a week, 7 weeks. So you can't expect people to volunteer that kind of time, although we do get some volunteers. But the dollars that he provides enables me to hire great instructors for our summer program. And then we have other foundations, the Rankert Foundation, Silk Foundation, Flowers Foundation. And they're just, Canton is just blessed.
Yes, that is right.
With these wonderful foundations who want to help programs such as ours. And I'm really grateful. And then we also get dollars from the city of Canton. Yeah, and through that employment program, hire young people, ages 14 to 24. And for most of them, it's their first time of ever having a job. So it's a little challenging because, the 14, 15, 16-year-olds, they want to play and have fun. But no, this is a job. So we have training for them about, work ethics and how you dress and your attitude and all like that. So that goes into it. And then they also help supervise our younger kids. So that is a win-win also. So, I'm grateful to the city of Canton for the dollars.
You're talking about quite a commitment when you're talking about these students going to, did you say 3 times a week? They're going to lessons and so forth?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the summer for 7 weeks.
That's amazing. And I hear so many people say, you just can't get kids to follow through.
Oh,
you are seeing something different.
They do. They love it. And I'll tell you what was a hit last year was a garden.
Oh, tell me why.
Well, I said, you know what? Our young people, those kids are always hungry, and I'm really grateful, too, because a group called Shared Blessings with Darlene Violet, they always kind of keep me in snacks. She's just wonderful.
Yep.
And she's leaving here and moving. And
no.
So, she's leaving. She's moving to Peoria, and she's really going to be missed.
But
she always says, Betty, what do you need? Kids need snacks. And so she and her husband would come almost every day bringing snacks. So I said, the kids eat junk. They eat too much junk. So I said, we need to teach them, because part of our thing is nurturing, And I said, we need to teach them how to live a healthy lifestyle. Why not start with a garden and let them grow vegetables and if they grow them, they might eat them. Everyone wanted to work in the garden.
They
took
cool.
ownership of that garden. They painted the rocks. They painted the pallets.
They didn't mind weeding. That.
I'm telling you, I was blown away. They didn't mind getting their hands dirty, digging in the soil. And the instructor that we had, she was so good with these kids. She would explain soil, and this is how this grows, and this is what this is, and this is the kind of seed. And they sucked it up. I mean, they just... It was so good that this year we're going to have 3 gardens.
Oh, my goodness. Another kind of enrichment. We need to take a short break. We're visiting with Betty Smith from Enrichment, and you're listening to Our Community.